My name's Gary Wallace and I am the General Manager of Oberon Council. With us this morning, I have Mayor Kathy Sadowitz, Councillor Andoni and Councillor Kerry Gibbons, as well as staff Chris Schumacher, Damien O'Shaughnessy, Kush Kumar, and the Corporate Services Director, Lynette Safranek. With that in mind, I'd like to call on the Mayor to open the meeting and give the acknowledgement of country.
Thank you, Gary. NOS acknowledges this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri, Gundungurra and Darug people and respects the history and culture of the elders, both past and present. Can I just take this opportunity to welcome you all to Council's presentation of the draft 2021-22 operational plan, supported by the long-term financial assumptions. As we go through this meeting, we will then take questions. We will take questions from the members of public present at the conclusion of the recording of the Zoom meeting. The meeting will then continue when questions will need to be submitted via the chat option on the screen. We are looking at basically a balanced budget with a small deficit, which I'm sure and confident will be turned around as we move through the year. And now we'll pass over to the General Manager, Gary Wallace, who will talk about the plan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll call on my Corporate Services Director, Lynette Safranek, to run through the assumptions of the draft operational plan.
Good morning. So basically, this presentation outlines the 2021-22 operational plan that is currently on public exhibition, and some of the assumptions for that plan include a forecast of total income of approximately 27.4 million, which will be made up of a rate increase of 2% on land rates, which is set by the Independent Pricing and Regulatory Tribunal, also known as the rate peg, an increase in the Financial Assistance Grant, or the FAG, block grant, block supplementary allocation, a significant increase in capital grants based on works that will be completed during this 2021-22 financial year. Also, a reduction in investment revenue in accordance with the Reserve Bank of Australia and Council's investment policy. However, this is due to be reviewed in the coming months. We're also forecasting a slight deficit of 24,095 from continuing operations. However, this will be reviewed and reconsidered after the exhibition period prior to adoption. The employee salary, wages and superannuation are forecast to increase by approximately 3.5%. This includes the local government award and performance increases, including the superannuation stepping up to 10% this year. Training expenses have been calculated at 2.5% of total salary and wages costs, which is a standard for local government. Fees and charges have been calculated at 0.9% CPI unless statutory. The CPI has just been adjusted for March and is at 1.1%, and staff are reviewing if we take the fees and charges up to 1.1%, what difference that will make to the operational plan prior to the June adoption. This draft operational plan will be finalised for the June Ordinary Council meeting, taking into consideration any movements identified, such as additional grant funding being announced during the public exhibition period. Again, Council is proposing a substantial financial assistance allocation of Section 356 to the community during 2021 of $85,000. The Planning and Development Director will now outline the waste assumptions.
Thank you, Lynette. It is proposed under the current draft that Council will continue to provide the Oberon community with 4 free tip vouchers per assessment, as well as 1 free tip day. The bulky goods collection will continue to be undertaken in the Oberon Township area. It is also proposed under the current draft that Council will continue to operate the Black Springs and Burriga transfer stations at their current level. Drawdowns in 21-22 are for the planning construction of a new landfill cell planned at the Oberon Waste Depot, and work will continue during the 21-22 period at the current tip operations to better utilise the facility, and this will be brought back to the community during 21-22. Hand over to Technical Services Director.
Thanks, Damien. During 21-22, with regard to water and sewer funds, the Sewer Fund Council plans to continue with the development of a design for new sewage treatment plant in preparation for its construction. This is anticipated to commence during 21-22. Other undertakings in this area include modification and customisation works involving council's sewer reticulation and infrastructure upgrades. And capital works and purchases in the water fund are forecast to include and continue with infrastructure renewal and operational performance upgrades, optimise the water treatment reticulation systems. I'll hand over to the Corporate Services Director, who will outline the long-term financial plan and assumptions.
I'm going to actually hand over to Kush, our new CFO, to outline the long-term financial plan assumptions.
Thanks, Lynette. Thanks, everyone. Regarding the long-term financial planning, for operational plan, it is only 1 year budget, but we have to, as per integrated planning and reporting framework, we have to assume for the next 10 years, which is our requirement, which is to prepare the long-term financial planning. For next 10-year assumptions, it's not easy to assume what is happening in the next 10 years, but still we have made our best estimations. And the first item, which is rates and annual revenue, which is as per regulatory tribunal, 2% is our rate pack, which we are assuming for next year, and after that it's going to be increased by a little bit amount, and at the end it is going to be 2.5% for the next 10 years, for 5 to 10 years. Regulatory tribunal previously reduced the peg from 2.8% to 1.5%, but our assumption is going in the same way from 2 to 2.5%, because we are assuming that there is no immediate indication to reduce this amount by the regulatory tribunal. Other revenues, we are assuming that it is as per the CPI. Most of our assumptions are based on the CPI index, which we have at this moment. Other revenue, which is going to be 0.9%, and during the next 10 years, it is going to be reaching 1.75%. For grants and contribution provided for capital purposes, these are basically our PAX grants, which we are receiving from federal government, roads to recovery grants and block grants. This capital grants, which we are assuming, is for our SEWA fund, which is 900,000. This is an assumption that we are going to receive grants for construction of our new SEWA treatment plant. Employee benefit and cost, which is as per our local government award assumption, 3% increase in our salary and wages and superannuation. Then next item is our material and contracts. Material and contract is basically our expenditures for contracts for our roads, cleaning, purchase of fuel, chemical utilities. For these all items, we are taking our assumption for the CPI index 0.9%. That's for me. I will now hand over to Gary.
Thank you, Kush, and I'll hand over to Lynette to explain the performance benchmarks.
So basically the benchmarks are set by the Office of Local Government, and council continues to meet almost all of these, except for the own source operating revenue, which is due to the stimulus grant funding. We're looking at a 42 at a level of 42% this coming financial year, which is below the benchmark of 60%. However, the assumption is that once the stimulus grant funding reduces, that level will once again lift up above the 60%. So it's a short-term pain. But the water and sewer asset renewal ratio is to assess the rate at which these assets are being renewed relative to the rate they are depreciating, and council continues to maintain the benchmark and forecast to continue. So I'll just run through, we've got some slides here with the income statement comparisons from the forecast of this financial year to the forecast of the coming financial year in 2021-22. As previously mentioned, we're forecasting an increased total income of approximately $27.4 million, made up of 2% rate increase, peg increase, 0.9% CPI on fees and charges unless statutory, an increase in financial assistance grant, block grant and block supplementaries. There's a significant increase in capital grants based on all works completed during the 2021-22 financial year in line with the AASB 15, and a reduction in investment revenue. In the lead up to a new GL restructure, council staff have consolidated accounts, which has led to some expenses increasing in comparison to last financial year. And below is an outline of some of these increases. So in the document on public exhibition, there are some notes that refer to these changes. And I ask you to look at those, but as a summary, administration now includes all postage, printing, cleaning and stationery for all areas of council, giving need for the forecast rise. It is noted that the cleaning contract, part of the cleaning contract has been included in this consolidation and will be moved as part of ongoing reports to council. This is a $64,000 change. However, this does not change the bottom line. It will just be moved to contracts. Advertising for all aspects of council have been consolidated into one line. Some examples include the weekly council columns, community events and recruitment. Currently, the state government has not committed to ongoing assistance in the heritage space. Council is cognizant of the importance of heritage in the local government area, and having the provision of expertise in this field, regardless of funding, is paramount in continuing this function. To assist, council is proposing to provide our heritage consultant additional funds to assist the local projects on heritage listed properties. It is now a requirement, excuse me, it is now a requirement for all councillors, new and returning, at the next election to undertake professional development. Therefore, council is required to add additional funds and have estimated the cost at approximately $55,000 for year one of the new term. Council has had a good year of debt collection during 2021. That staff feel we are able to forecast a reduction in 21-22, hence the reduction there. IT hardware increase includes new hardware for new councillors after the September election, hardware for outdoor staff as a result of the new EMS transition to assist with processing on site, and ongoing hardware updates. And the memberships and subscriptions, this also includes membership for New South Wales Central West JO, subscription of cemetery operations, library membership and subscriptions, development control memberships, and as an example, so we've pulled them all into the one area. The next slide, this slide shows the forecast of substantial operating result being over $12 million, both before disposal and carryovers and before capital are a result of substantial projects in 21-22. We have a substantial increase in depreciation of $1.7 million for the 21-22 financial year due to these new projects. There's a forecast decrease in net gains from disposal of assets. This is prominent in the sale of plant. As most projects have been completed in the 2021 financial year, we are forecasting minor carryovers into 21-22 at this point in time. There is a decrease in transfers proposed from restricted relating predominantly to the sewer treatment plant expenditure being sourced through grants. I'll hand over to the Technical Services Director, who can outline some of the projects planned, capital projects planned for next financial year.
Excellent. During 21-22, as Lynette has mentioned, there is quite a substantial array of projects that the council has obtained through quite a vast amount of funding that's been made available through the state government predominantly and federal governments respectively. Some of the projects are listed, and it's really a snapshot. There are a fair few more than these, but these are certainly some of the key point projects. So the dot point one talks to the Safer Roads program, which will address safety upgrades on two particular roads this year. We did receive $1.95 million grant for Abercrombie Road. That's being split over 2 financial years, and this year we're spending $1.65 million of that to do around about 20 kilometres of upgrade on the Abercrombie Road between Black Springs and Paling Yards in that particular location. So that involves curb widening, bitumen seal, guardrail, signage, and new line marking. Next financial year on that particular job, when I talk about line marking, audio tactile line marking as part of the safety component will be installed on that particular road. Centre line predominantly again, addressing some of the key attributes of safety upgrades for Abercrombie Road. The second part during 21-22, Edith Road, council is expecting a further grant of around about $587,000 to do safety improvement works on the Edith Road in the vicinity around Basta Point Road, which again is some curb widening, guardrail, bitumen sealing, and line marking signage improvement work. Fixing local roads, dot point 2 talks to Campbell's River Road. Most of the community is quite well aware by now. There's about 23 kilometres of road there being addressed at a cost of around $5 million. Council is currently halfway through that work with regard to stabilising certain sections of the pavement, which have been of a poorer consistency to allow for heavy haulage, which is known as a common link between obviously Oberon and the Forestry Corporation areas for supply of timber into Oberon. Council recently also received another announcement through Fixing Local Roads of around about a little over $4 million to do work on Arkstone roads and Burriga roads, and respectively that work will also be undertaken into next financial year. So those two works will work in tandem with one another, and it's expected Campbell's River Road will be completed by December this calendar year. And again, Arkstone will certainly, and Burriga roads will work through next financial year in terms of trying to bring them to a completed state. Roads to recovery, some funding will be spent on Mozart Road this year. There is some preparation work currently being undertaken this year with regard to gravel resheeting on the Abercrombie Road end, and next year or next financial year we'll see some blacktop being rolled out on that particular road. The repair program, council has put together, or council staff have put together an application with regard to receiving another $800,000 or $400,000 income, matched with $400,000 of council's funds, to bring together an $800,000 program to address a further 3 kilometres of road on the Edith Road between Butter Factory Lane due east towards the Genolan Cave. So again, adding on some already good works that have provided upgrade to the road, which we'll see then again a better improvement in road safety and delivery of a better road network on the Edith Road. Tablelands Way, council has been awarded around about $6.7 million of a program that will be over or undertaken over a period of 3 years, commencing from 21-22. Council will undertake the first stage of works on the Blowsmount Road from the Oberon end, heading due east towards Mutton Falls Road. So the work will involve some land acquisition, widening of the road pavement, again, safety improvements, guardrail, vegetation removal and alike. So certainly we would all agree that that road is certainly due, and as recognised as part of the Tablelands Way project, council will be undertaking work on that road from next year. In the field of roads maintenance council contracts, council continues to maintain O'Connell and Duckmaloo roads. It's about 50k a road under a contract arrangement. And council remains committed with Transport for New South Wales in the maintenance area, and heavy patching, repairs, line marking, guardrail, and any other capital projects they assign on those particular 2 sections of road. Open council again, as I said, will take those works on as part of the 21-22 capital works. And last but not least, mentioned here is another successful result of state government committed to the Fixing Country Bridges program, which sees council with Swallows Nest Road. There's a bridge on Swallows Nest Road which will be replaced under the timber bridges componentry of the Fixing Country Bridges program, which will see a bridge being constructed on a new alignment where the existing one, I think it goes across at right angles on the road at the minute. We will put it on a differing alignment, which will provide a better approach and a light, but it will be a dual bridge, which will have obviously a better outcome with regard to ability to facilitate passing cars on the one structure. And again, on Baldridge Road, there'll be another bridge which will be constructed to replace an existing timber bridge. So we should be able to undertake the work on Swallows Nest Road without too much interruption to traffic. But whereas Baldridge Road, we'll have to probably close that road at the time to traffic so we can install that structure. So any questions of that? If not, I'll hand over to the Planning and Development Director to cover off a few more capital projects in that area.
Thanks, Chris. A couple of projects that I'm involved in is the finalisation of the existing waste facility of the Oberon tip. As it's reaching the end of its life, moving to a new cell. The new cell is made up of 8 cells and has an expected lifespan of up to 50 years. And that will be done in accordance with our EPNA or Environmental Protection Authority licence and DA conditions. Also, with the new sewer treatment plant coming on board in the new financial year, the pound will be relocated to the waste facility, and that will also include new working conditions and amenities for the staff at the waste depot. Council's also received funding from the New South Wales Government Drought Stimulus Package for the community hub, combining the library and the community centre into one facility, and obviously having to engage consultants to prepare detailed plans and drawings, planning approvals, and with the construction anticipated to commence before the end of the current financial year, with completion anticipated by the end of 2022. So thank you, and I'll hand over to the General Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Damien. Council in this space also continually is looking for grant opportunities to support the redevelopment of the sporting precinct. Currently, the New South Wales state government has contributed $2 million to the project, and council is looking for grant funding to support the relocation of this project, as well as contributions from partners in this space. So an application has been launched with the JRPP, which is the Joint Regional Planning Panel. So council isn't the assessing authority, isn't the determining authority here, and it's now with them for assessment. So that's just a quick overview of the capital projects that we have lined up for 21-22, and as you can see, there's quite a number. Once again, the screen only gives a snapshot of what they are. There is quite significant programs for community and council alike moving forward to 21-22. This moves us into the town improvement levy for 21-22. Council has forecast town improvement levy projects in accordance with its community strategic plan and its delivery program. They form part of the operational plan each year, and they meet the cost of the work, service, facilities, or activities within the town improvement district. On the screen, there is a number of potential projects that we are looking at for this financial year. They include the common fund, some curb and gutter works which are allocated for the program from Dudley Street on Dudley Street, from Curtis Street to Oberon Street on both sides, as well as others. There's the beautification program that the council has put together to look at how we can better utilise natural and trees for a beautification project along our streets and avenues. There is also some footpath construction. There's a provision around a bulk goods collection. There's a community hub fit out contribution that's been proposed, should council consider it. However, it's got to be stated at this point in time that prior to the adoption of a 21 financial plan or an operational plan, council will need to outline their preferred projects following the exhibition, community consultation and feedback, and current resolutions. So what we're saying here is if you add up those projects, they sit well and truly above what's proposed to be collected. It is not anticipated that council is going above and beyond that levy that's been raised, and they will need to make a decision on how they want to spend that money. I'll now pass over to the Mayor to outline the rating schedule for 21-22.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. For the rating year 2021-22, Council has adopted a rating structure which, in complying with the Local Government Act 1993, maintains the equity of the present structure. This chart that you can see on the screen shows the different rating categories that make up the total rating revenue and how they contribute to the total revenue collected. Farmland contributes 46.21%, residential contributes 23.65%, rural residential 16.42%, non-urban 4.01%, and business 9.72%. It should be noted that with an average increase of 2%, there will be assessments that have a higher than expected increase. These will be a result of land value changes through the supplementary listings and land transfers and revaluation of land from the Valuer General undertaken in 2020. There is an opportunity for landowners to question the Valuer General's department's assessments, and that can be done privately through their website. I'll now hand over to Director of Finance, Lynette, to go through the Statement of Revenue Policy.
Thank you. So the Statement of Revenue Policy covers a few items, one of them being the Oberon Mayor and Councillors fees for 21-22, and the Oberon Mayor and Councillors are currently 7.71 behind the maximum remuneration allowed by the Tribunal. And as I said previously, the rate at the moment is currently set at 0.9% increase. This will be reviewed during the public exhibition period, as the Tribunal is due to release its ruling. And in accordance with Council resolution at the April Finance Committee, we will adjust the operational plan at that time. The fees and charges, as I mentioned previously as well, is 0.9% CPI unless statutory. And the investment interest forecast is very conservative in accordance with the Reserve Bank of Australia forecast and Council's investment policy, and the investment policy is due for review shortly. I'll hand back to the General Manager.
Thank you, Lynette. This brings us to the current pandemic that we still need to cater for, regardless of whether we think it's over or not. Council has put a contribution within its draft operational plan as a $137,000 potential spend in the 21-22 operational plan. Should council continue, or should Oberon continue to have no impacts from the pandemic, it's considered that this is one of the areas where the council will move from a deficit into a surplus. However, being mindful of the current situation, it would be poor planning of us not to cater for a provision that relates to the COVID pandemic at this point in time. So we have put an allocation of 137,800 this year, which is down from the just below 200,000 from last year. However, that will be something that will be moved in and out of our operational plan through quarterly budget reviews. That sort of brings us to the end of the discussion. where to from here is that, well, council resolved to put the document on exhibition until the 4th of June 2021. So we'll accept submissions up until that date. Plans are available on council's website. And should you wish to speak to anyone in regards to any of the matters within the plan, please contact the administration centre in order to do that. I'd like to take this opportunity to encourage all the community to put their submission in, as it's the time and it's the place for council to consider those submissions, and now is the time to do that. So I'll now pass over to the Mayor just for a wrap up.
Thank you, Gary. And I too would encourage all of our community to read these documents and put in a submission. Comments from residents will be considered at the June, before the resolution of this document at the June Ordinary Council meeting. And please remember, this is your document. And as Gary said, if you do need any further clarification or information, please feel free to contact either myself, another councillor, or the General Manager. It's better to be informed than non-informed. The Zoom now will cease. So we thank you for attending, and we will now take questions from the members of the public present.